My wife and her mother went on vacation. When they came back, everything fell apart. The first time I felt something was off, I pushed the thought away. Claire had always been a good wife, loving, attentive, predictable. We had built a stable life together in Austin, Texas. I had a solid job in real estate, making enough for us to live comfortably, while she worked part-time at a boutique and managed our home. People envied us, or at least, that's what I thought. It started small. Claire began wearing a perfume she hadn't used in years. "Hey babe," she said one evening, barely glancing up from her phone. "Mom and I are thinking of taking a little trip. Just a short getaway, some girl time." I leaned against the counter, studying her face. "Where to?" She hesitated. It was brief, but I caught it. A flicker of something across her face, like she was deciding on the spot what to say. "Ah, just a resort," she said, waving a hand like it was nothing. "Nothing crazy. Mom's been stressed, and I figured we could use some sun." Her voice was too casual, too rehearsed, but I didn't press. I should have. Claire had traveled before. She'd gone on trips with her mom plenty of times. Usually she'd come back full of stories, eager to tell me about the places they visited and the things they did. But this time was different. The moment she stepped through the door, she barely acknowledged me. "Hey," she said quickly, brushing past me. She went straight to the bathroom. No hug, no excitement. Something wasn't right. Later that night, as we sat in the living room, she barely spoke. She kept checking her phone, her fingers tapping against the screen in a nervous rhythm. "You okay?" I asked. She forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired." It wasn't just tiredness. Something was off. A few days later, Claire mentioned she had a doctor's appointment. "Routine checkup," she said when I asked. Her mother, Linda, was going with her. Rick, Linda's husband, was a quiet man. He rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. But that day, as we sat in the waiting room while the women went in, he leaned over and muttered, "Something's not right." I nodded. I felt it too. Then we heard it. A doctor's voice, faint through the door. "Conception." Rick and I sat up at the same time. A cold rush ran through my veins. Conception. Jessica and Linda had no idea we had just overheard. When Claire came out, she was composed, but something in her eyes had changed. "What kind of checkup was that?" I asked. She blinked. "Just some blood work. I was a little dehydrated from the trip." "Lies." Rick exhaled sharply beside me. "That's weird," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Because we just overheard the doctor talking about conception." Claire stiffened. Then for the first time I saw it. Real fear. The next morning I waited. I needed her to tell me the truth. When she finally looked at me, she sighed. "Are we really doing this?" I exhaled slowly. "Are you pregnant?" She paused mid-bite. Her grip on her fork tightened. Then she scoffed. "Oh my God, Adam. Do you hear yourself? You're obsessed with this. You're acting paranoid." I stayed silent. She stood up, grabbing her phone. "I have things to do today." And just like that, she walked out. I didn't stop her. I needed answers. That evening I met Rick at a bar. He was already there sipping his coffee. "You don't believe her either," I said as I sat down. Rick shook his head. "No, I don't." A heavy silence settled between us. "I need to know the truth." Rick nodded. An hour later, the front door of my house creaked open. Claire flinched, and then, standing there, casually stepping inside like he belonged, was Daniel. "My best friend." Claire turned toward Daniel, her voice sharp. "Why are you here?" Daniel let out a humorless chuckle. "I think you know why." I stepped forward. "How long?" Claire crossed her arms, shifting her weight, trying to mask her discomfort. I didn't let up. "How long, Claire?" Daniel cleared his throat. 2 years. My stomach dropped. I stared at Claire. 2 years, and now you're pregnant with his child. Claire swallowed hard. I never planned for this to happen. I let out a sharp laugh. "Yeah, Well, you sure as hell plan to keep lying. Then I saw it, something in Daniel's expression. A flicker of hesitation. And suddenly I knew. Daniel wasn't the only one. How many others, Claire? I asked, my voice steady, calm. She flinched. Daniel turned to her sharply. Wait, what? Claire hesitated. I smirked. You really thought you could keep all your stories straight, didn't you? Daniel's face paled. Tell me he's lying. She hesitated too long. And just like that, I knew. Daniel walked out. I watched Claire, her fists clenched, her breath coming fast. You think this is funny? She snapped. I leaned against the wall. No, but I think it's justice. She scoffed. You're pathetic, Adam. I didn't argue. Instead, I walked past her, grabbed a duffel bag, and started packing. I spent the night at a motel. The next morning, I filed for divorce. Claire tried to fight it. She tried to manipulate, to twist the truth. But I was done. And then, just when I thought it was over, I got a call. A man's voice. My name's Tyler, he said. I think we've both been played. Months passed. Claire lost everything, her marriage, her reputation, even Rick disowned her. One night, I ran into Daniel at a bar. She thought she could play us all, he muttered. Turns out she played herself. I lifted my glass. To dodging bullets. Daniel clinked his against mine. To starting over. And for the first time in years, I finally felt free.